Imagine the most depraved individual that you possibly can, and then multiply that by a factor of 100, and you'd probably left with somebody that looks a little bit like Ian Watkins. He was part of a huge band called Lostprophets. A lot of people were fans of them, probably about 10 years ago. And he is a horrible individual who is guilty of committing some of the worst possible crimes that I think anyone could ever imagine somebody committing. I'm going to read you guys a little excerpt from the court documents from when he finally got apprehended for what he did. It took them a very long time to actually get down to business, to really put the handcuffs on him and say, okay, Buster, you're done. So yeah, here, let's take a look at this document real quick. It says you, B. B is a woman he was talking to. It's a string of people. Because he was in the Lostprophets band, he was obviously surrounded by female fans, and he used his fame to take advantage of that and take advantage of their kids. So the excerpt reads, you, B, were only 19 when you met Watkins in late 2011. The communications between the two of you in March and April 2012 are seriously disturbing. That you were manipulated by Watkins may be obvious, but you are a mother. Your infant was only 10 months old. A mother naturally loves, protects, shields, nurtures, and cherishes. Your infant would have trusted you implicitly. You totally betrayed that trust. What did you do? You had detailed discussions with Watkins about the sexual acts to which the two of you were going to subject your infant. Now, that is the only excerpt I'm going to read you guys. It's a very easy PDF to find. You can read the whole thing if you want to, but fair warning, it is a fucking gut wrencher. I had a hard time reading most of it. Yeah, guys, we did a little bit of a deep dive. We talked about it a little bit on my stream, so yeah, let's take a look. I don't know if you guys know who Ian Watkins is, but holy shit, the depraved things that he did were absolutely beyond the realm of comprehension. What happened? Okay, so basically, Ian Watkins, he was a singer for a band called Lostprophets, and so I think their first album didn't really hit that hard, but the second album, instant hit. They were huge, like immediately. They popped right out they popped right out and were giant with their second album. Now the problem with Ian Watkins is he had 3 different like women that he would talk to, and he talked in depth about, you know, R-wording babies and actually acted on it. It's really fucking it's a shitty situation. But I thought it was it's something I wanted to talk about. Yeah, let's just watch this.
Watkins had no previous history of abuse. He was a straight A student from a loving family and was on top of the music world. Instead of using his power for good...
Yeah, this guy was just like a straight up sociopath. Like, apparently he was actually a pretty smart guy, but he was just a straight, like, he had no human emotions. At least, I mean, from what I can see, he had absolutely no remorse either for what he did.
He turned into a monster and a predator who would target the most vulnerable and use them for his own sexual gratification. Ian Watkins was the frontman of the super successful band Lostprophets, who had seemingly done the impossible for a British band and broke into the US music scene. During this period,
can I see what you say? Yeah.
Idea that the charismatic frontman
was actually
one of the worst child predators to ever exist, with his crime spree coming to an end in 2012 when he was charged with 13.
This guy requires like the whole FBI. Now the crazy thing about this whole story is that people went to the police to get him arrested. Like, they had evidence stacked against him. He was outward about this stuff. He talked about it a lot. One of his passwords was R-word kids. Yeah. No, it gets
child sex offences and the attempted rape of an 11-month-old girl. This is the case of Ian Watkins.
A baby.
Ian Watkins was brought up in the Welsh Valleys and actually had quite a comfortable upbringing. He was a straight A student in school.
What's up, Josh?
Teenage life without any controversy.
Welcome to the stream.
And was the stepson of a Baptist minister and a talented musician. Watkins had a passion for music from a very early age. In his teenage years, he met who would be a future Lostprophets band member, Mike Lewis, who formed a thrash metal band called After aftermath. The band practiced out of Watkins' shed in his back garden and was short-lived, with Watkins being cited as being relentless with his goal of becoming a musician, and not only that, but becoming a superstar. Watkins, desperate to reach his goal, formed another band with another future band member, Lee Gaze. And whilst this band had some success, this ultimately led to the creation of the now infamous Lostprophets in 1997. Lostprophets began touring in South Wales and saw success early on, which inevitably led to being noticed by record label Visible Noise following huge reviews from...
Yeah, they kind of just blew up, got huge. I think the fame got to his head, and, well, he was... No one just goes into pedophilia just out of nowhere, you know? It's not... You know what I'm saying? So this was clear. He was this person to begin with, but the fame did not help the situation at all.
Both Kerrang and Metal Hammer magazines. Over the years, Lostprophets started gaining mainstream publicity, headlining their own shows, and even supporting bands such as Linkin Park. The band's true breakout moment was the release of their 2004 studio album, Start Something, which sold 2.5 million copies worldwide and even sold 890,000.
Yeah, so they were fucking
in the US,
huge. Like, they were a huge band.
From the UK's goal was to break the US market was massive. The band seemed to be on top of the world for the following years, with Watkins leading the front line as a
exactly. You can't separate the... This is impossible to separate the musician from the actual
he would
music.
never drink or do drugs when he had a performance, as he wanted to give the best performance possible for his fans. The band toured some more, performed at huge festivals such as Glastonbury in the UK, and even played gigs with Metallica and Slipknot. Lostprophets seemingly could do no wrong. The band were gaining momentum and truly taking the scene by storm. A quick glance at any of Lostprophets' own tour performance shows what Lostprophets fans' demographic consisted of, which was an army of teenage girls. Now,
yeah,
this
exactly.
on its own would not be concerning. It is quite often the case of bands of...
Like, the amount of teenage girls that he was surrounded by just enabled him to so easily just infiltrate a couple of their lives and take advantage of them and their babies, literally. Yeah, they're definitely on the same playing field. It's very similar to Epstein Island, yes.
A similar genre, have a similar following.
Except for
this with what we know now and the rumors.
Except for the people that were preyed on in this, these were not. Yeah, exactly. Taking huge advantage of his popularity. Just, yeah. But the difference between this and Epstein Island is that these were regular people being taken advantage of. Now the people that were, involved with him are not free of blame either, because the mothers that offered up their kids, they freely did so. It's not like he stole them, so they had a huge part to play too. But of course, he is the instigator of it all.
That were around at the time, and this makes this case even more disturbing. One thing that was noted often but kept quiet along media outlets in fear of being refused an interview with the band was
it's like bipolar.
Of underage girls that were backstage at these concerts. Not just at the concerts, but backstage with the band. And media outlets have often stated that it was often Watkins that looked all too familiar in these situations, whilst the other band members...
Okay. And no one ever said anything. So they failed from the start. It wasn't like a situation where, people from the get-go were like, this is like really weird. Maybe we should talk to the authorities. Maybe we should go out and, try to expose him or something. No one cared for a really long time.
Quiet the whole time during the Watkins timeline. After the charges, the band started releasing information.
I don't think I can say that word on stream.
Hated working with Watkins, and after their second studio album, Start Something, Watkins began using hard drugs consistently, such as cocaine and crystal meth. It even got to the point where the band claimed that Ian had his own private dressing room, which you could argue may be an attempt of the other band members to...
Yeah, so his drug-fueled cocaine sex binges just made this whole situation way worse. The drugs totally amplified the whole situation. It amplified his, demonic feelings. It was
deny any knowledge
horrendous.
Of Watkins' disturbing behaviour. Every member of the band claims that the only illegal activity they ever witnessed from Watkins was his drug use, and that even they had claimed to hold many interventions and threatened to kick him out of the band as a result of this. Fast forward to 2010, in which the band had been recording their third studio.
We're gonna get
album,
fucking FBI swatted.
And this is where it was obvious that cracks started to form in the band. In early 2010, numerous tours were cancelled and tickets refunded with no reason given to the fans. bands. The reality was the band were realizing that Watkins had a depressingly sad drug addiction, which in their words snuck up on them. This led to Watkins not turning up to performances, or when he was there, he was clearly under the influence and performed poorly. The boiling point for this was in 2012 when Lostprophets played in the Cardiff Motorpoint Arena. According to the band, the performance was a disaster, with the band saying that Watkins didn't move for the whole set and that he was singing the wrong words. This led to the band staging another intervention for Watkins, in which they discussed breaking up the band, but ultimately Watkins decided to check into rehab whilst the band took a break from touring for 2 months.
God, imagine being given the world. Imagine being given all this fame and just doing this with it. Like, holy shit. Imagine going down the gutter so far.
That specific performance actually led to a physical altercation between Watkins and bass player Richardson, with Richardson reflecting in an interview on the incident.
Wait, what? Robert Johnson sold his soul to the devil to get good at the guitar. What in the world? Robert Johnson sold soul. I wouldn't be surprised. Legend has it that Robert Johnson met the devil at a crossroads and gave him his soul in exchange for mastery of the guitar. Oh my God. I went down to the crossroad, fell down on my knees, asked the Lord above, have mercy now, save poor Bob, if you please. Oh God, so he self-reported himself, selling his soul to the devil. Holy shit. Is this vid set, wait, what? Good video on it by De Burke. We can definitely watch that. That sounds very interesting. Holy shit.
So I come off the stage fucking livid, go on the bus, Ian's on the bus, and I'm like, nice one, and he gives me some shit, and I black the fuck out, and I'm laying punches into his face. I'm not fucking proud of it, but I'm laying
Okay, I hate when people use the excuse, I blacked out when getting into a fight. It is a lie. I don't believe it. There's never been one singular case where somebody is actually blacked out during a fight. You know exactly what you're doing. Like, you may, like, just be seeing, like, red or something. Like, you may be extremely angry, but you never black out when you're just punching somebody. That's not really how that works.
Punches into his face for 10 seconds or 10 minutes. I don't know. And I'm a big boy compared to him, so I'm not proud of this. And then he gives me this fucking look after I hit him. And I had this can of Monster Energy in my hand, and I smashed this fucking can into his head. And I'm like, fuck. I go outside and puke. And for the next 3 weeks, he's like black eyes, cut on his face, and I'm like feeling fucking horrible about the whole thing. And that's what I did. And that's what I did when he missed the show. You know what I mean? If I knew anything, if I had an inkling about any of that shit, his crimes, this would be the beginning of the end for Watkins, with 2012 being the year he was found out to be one of the most disgusting human beings to exist in the music scene. On December 3rd, 2012, Watkins tweeted...
So yeah, he had a decent ride. Like, it was a few years before any of this actually got out, which is staggering. Or, that's not the right word, but, wild. It's honestly sad how long he got away with a lot of this stuff. Exactly. When people had evidence. Like, it's not like no one had evidence. People had evidence. Were trying to go to the police, and they would consistently be turned away.
Out that he was en route to the Big Smoke to shoot our new music video, promoting the band without a care in the world. Fast forward 16 days later, and on 19th of December 2012, Watkins was charged with 13 sexual offences against children, including the attempted rape of an 11-month-old girl. This was not only a day that shook up the music scene forever, but a day that had ultimately ended Watkins' disgusting run of abuse.
Yeah, this was huge news. Like, Lostprophets at this point in time was a giant band. So you can only imagine the fans hearing something like this. Yeah.
And took away any freedom he had had. The worst bit about this could have easily have been prevented had the police listened to any of the one of 6 people that had expressed concern Watkins' sexual interest
or watch another video on it
over a 4-year period. Watkins initially was not even arrested in 2012 due to the child sex offences. It was actually an unrelated drug charge to which police coincidentally began making the disturbing discovery of the nature of his crimes. The most publicised example of this was with Watkins' ex-girlfriend Joanne. Joanne was in a constant on and off relationship relationship with Watkins from 2006 to 2008, which was relatively normal other than Watkins' spiraling drug abuse. Joanne stated she never witnessed anything that indicated Watkins would be a sex offender.
God, I do not believe that for a single fucking second. There is a 0% chance that she had no idea of, you know, his tendencies, where he would constantly make remarks about being a, you know, child molester and all this type of shit. I do not believe that for a second. She was around this guy from 2006 to 2008, 2 years. There's no way that he did not give her any sort of signs or say anything to her where she was like, you know, fucking scratch of the head and put two and two together.
Did find it strange that there were so many young girls around the band that often. Joanne began receiving disturbing text messages from Watkins in 2008, following an incident in a video discovered by the police in which the two are having sex, and Watkins is heard to tell Joanne that he can't wait to get you pregnant so they would have a child to abuse. Joanne then received a text message from Watkins in 2008 in which he bragged to Joanne that he had sex with multiple underage girls. Joanne, disgusted by this, went to the police immediately that same day, but unfortunately this would be the first of many instances in which Joanne was ignored. Now, from looking at this case, I personally feel many factors went into why the police chose to ignore Joanne's pleas to review the evidence that she was more than willing to provide. The first being that Joanne was previously a sex worker, and they may not have judged her to be a reliable source of information and labelled her as a jealous ex. Watkins at the time was on top of the world, especially in his hometown, so the police knew that any allegation of this nature would bring a lot of scrutiny and publicity to the force. Joanne had physically been down to the police station on that day with her phone and laptop as proof, asking for an officer to review the disturbing text messages, to which she was told that the female officer at the time was not trained to review the data on the laptop. Whilst that may be true, it's...
But how? How in the world do you turn away somebody that's claiming that they have evidence of a possible predator? You know? Something about this whole situation feels fishy to me. Something doesn't seem like it went right down the pipeline, you know? Because I can't believe that the police would turn her away after she claimed, you know, that she had evidence.
It's extremely negligent to not at least review the text. And
he is evil.
If it is appropriate for the correct department to triage it, there's simply no excuse for that level of negligence.
Oh yeah, he's in jail for, I think it was 35 years. 29 years, which is horrendously low for the crimes he committed. He should be in for way longer.
Negligence, following an investigation retrospectively from the IPCC, and that's basically the people who police the police, it was found there were numerous instances in which Watkins could have been apprehended had they simply just listened to the victims reporting at the time. Joanne repeatedly made reports to the police.
Yeah, but 29 years means that he's still going to be able to get out. Like, he is going to be able to get out of jail. You know, it's not like, unless he dies in jail, which, okay, hold on. How much longer does Ian Watkins have in prison? Okay, so he's serving 29 and with eligibility to apply for parole in 2031. After serving 2/3 of his prison term. So he doesn't actually get 20 years. He gets more like, I mean, he doesn't get 29 years. He gets more like 20 years. That's only 7 years from now. That's gonna blow by. He's getting out. And I would be amazed if he didn't, if he didn't commit these crimes again. Exactly. He should definitely be, if anybody should be on death row, it should be Ian Watkins. He has parole. Yeah, he has parole. That's what it says right here, with eligibility to apply for parole in 2031. I'm so baffled by this situation that I feel like I've swallowed the idiot potion. Holy fuck. Yeah.
Every time a report was made, it was soon closed due to insufficient evidence, despite not all lines of reasonable inquiries even being considered, never mind followed. Joanne made another report in December 2008, this time in which she reported Watkins bragging having sex with an underage girl and giving the child cocaine. No officer even visited the child or their parents, despite Joanne providing all of the details. All of Joanne's reports were considered false, and Watkins was allowed to continue his disturbing behaviour, and worst of all, openly bragging about it to Joanne, knowing he would get away with it. The police even wrote that Joanne was a poor character and that she'd been sectioned under the mental health.
Like, what the hell? Did they just, like, open the laptop, look at the evidence, and say, well, doesn't look concrete, and just shut the laptop. Like, I'm just going through it in my head, and it doesn't work, you know? And I would think that if she had evidence, okay, so the investigator there has to be somebody in the police department that's qualified to look at evidence like this, right? There has to be somebody in there. They might not be there that day, but hey, come back tomorrow. They'll be in it. You know, like a situation like that. But it doesn't seem like any of that ever happened. So it's either she blundered, or they blundered, or everybody shit their pants and the whole police department fizzled up into thin air or something. Like, I don't know. Like, it just doesn't
fact, which
compute.
Joanne had proven in court was simply untrue. Joanne was not the only source of information to the police.
The code is
Watkins'
fucked.
behavior. Over the next 4 years, numerous complaints and intelligence reports about Watkins' alleged drug use and sexual interest in children were submitted to South Wales police and other forces. In March 2012, a woman told police Watkins may have sexually assaulted an 11
For the next 4 years! For 4 years! Over the next 4 years, numerous complaints and intelligence reports about Watkins' alleged drug use and sexual interest. 4 years, and they just allowed him to run rampant. Like, no, he doesn't seem like a problem. You know, they're probably just rumors. We're not going to look any deeper into him. Like, I'm sure that this was influenced by the fact that he was a huge celebrity at the time. So, I mean, I could definitely see that being a large role in the situation as to why he was not apprehended earlier. But still, 4 fucking years. They had evidence. And they just didn't even look at it.
month-old boy. She gave police a description of images that could be found on his computer and his password, but officers took no steps to investigate.
How?
For a month, an Australian woman told police that Watkins was a child abuser and drug abuser. Her email concluded, "Please do not disregard this as it is serious." Again, nothing happened. Police
like, holy shit, after all of this, the fucking alarm bell should be like, woo, woo, well, you know, ringing. Holy fuck.
finally took action in June 2012 when they received information that Watkins, now 40, regularly imported drugs from the US. They raided his home and found disturbing and overwhelming evidence that he was a paedophile. Despite Joanne not being taken seriously by the police, following numerous reports, she decided to take matters into her own hands and played along with Watkins' sick and twisted mindset, in the hopes of gathering enough evidence against him that the police would finally listen to her pleas. In a plot twist, following the arrest of Watkins, Joanne herself was actually charged for possession of the indecent images she had received from Watkins, but ultimately the courts had an ounce of common sense and deemed her not guilty. This then led to the truly disturbing discovery of the extent of Watkins' predatory behavior. Upon investigation, it was found that Watkins had been
something about the whole she submitted evidence and they didn't look at it situation. I'm going to go based off of the fact she is completely innocent. So the fact that they apprehended her and arrested her is fucked. There's still a little bit of that video left, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave a link to it in the description below. But yeah, absolute clusterfuck of a bunch of mistakes that the police seem to have made. It makes no sense to me. They had all of this evidence and they just decided, nope, Ian Watkins looks like a clean dude. Insufficient evidence when they had chat logs, they had text messages, they had all of this shit against him, and they still decided to do nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. From an actual victim that was trying to out him. It's baffling. Absolutely baffling. But yeah, I mean, that just showed that's one of a huge blunder in the justice system. I mean, my God, what a clusterfuck of mistakes. Yeah, guys, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments. But yeah, guys, that's all I got. See ya.